And welcome to another Thursday night of edition. Let me start over, Billy Pearson. I do this every stinking week. Welcome to another episode of Around the Nation, presented by the Viking Nation Live. Listen, guys, we want to welcome all you crazy Viking maniacs out there to our weekly show on every Thursday night called Around the Nation. And listen, this is building up to what we can expect come football season in the fall, because man, every Thursday night this fall is going to be off the chain, because we are planning to do a fantastic game of the week preview this coming fall. It's going to be great. So, but tonight is tonight, and we've got a great show tonight for you. First of all, we're going to talk about one of the things is Corky Kell tickets are now on sale. And we understand there's a lot of fans out there that are confused about how do you order these dang tickets, because you may have been online. You may have tried to download the app. You may have tried a lot of different things to order your tickets, because let's face it, we got to sell 3,000 of these tickets. We're committed to 3,000 tickets. And if we don't sell them, the school system's got to eat them. We're basically committed to 3,000 tickets. So we're going to run through how to properly order these Corky Kell tickets tonight. And I'm actually going to show it to you on screen live tonight. So the second thing we're going to talk about is some of you missed the announcement last week that we had right here on this show about the Lowndes Athletics Master Plan build out that's going to start breaking ground anytime now. Really, literally anytime now. That includes an indoor multi-purpose practice facility that's going to benefit a lot of different athletics programs throughout the Lowndes athletics program, right? Including the football, the baseball, soccer, band, and all these kids are going to benefit from having this use of an indoor multi-purpose facility. So we'll go over all those details again tonight in case you missed it last week. We're also going to have a great guest tonight, Bill Osborne from the Viking Voice. You may recognize his voice from the radio broadcast or maybe the baseball broadcast. I don't know if you've ever seen him live on screen. So some of you may not know what Bill Osborne looks like. We're going to have Bill live on air tonight to talk about this tear that Lowndes Baseball is apparently on right now. I mean, they swept a doubleheader last night over the Noonan Cougars 2-1 in game one, and then the Bats came alive in that first inning in the second game, and they routed the Noonan Cougars 10-4. And so we'll talk about that, and then finally at 7:30 we'll have Phil Jones from In the Game magazine. He's got a great show Monday through Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m. He's got some knowledge about the Warner Robins Demons football team and what they can expect or what they have coming back. Because why are we talking about Warner Robins football? Because we got a spring game tomorrow night at Martin Stadium. So sit back, grab your popcorn, your favorite soda, because we've got a jam-packed show tonight, which is brought to you by Winn-Dixie of Valdosta. We're going to have an end of the show drawing. So I'll give you the code on how to enter that drawing here in a few minutes. And our newest sponsor is Tim Neesmith at what's he call his oh my gosh, what does he call his business? A Shade of Perfection. So let's talk about that shady guy that is the newest sponsor of the Viking Nation Around the Nation Live. So anyway, with no further ado, let's bring our superfan Billy Pearson on the screen and our guest Bill Osborne. Guys, I got a little mouthy with that introduction.
You always do.
I know it, but Billy, that's because we always have so much to talk about on this show. That's a pretty hefty agenda, you got to admit.
Definitely.
So, Billy, we've got the Viking Voice himself, founder of the Viking Voice with Wes James, Bill Osborne. Bill,
hey, thanks for having me today. I'm telling you what, it's an honor to be on the show.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, man. Yeah, listen, you are no stranger to broadcast, whether it's radio or TV or anything like that, because your latest gig. Let's plug your latest gig. You've been in the banking world for years, but you've recently retired from that. Tell us what you're doing now.
Well, still doing my private business. I do power washing. I've done that for 2.5 years, but about 3 months ago, Black Crow Media called and asked me to host the morning drive. So from 6 to 9 every day, I'm at 105.9 WVGA.
I got you. All right. Yeah, I enjoy listening to you every morning, man. So you do a great job. So again, welcome to the Viking Nation Live.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
The reason why I wanted you on tonight is because you've got a bird's eye. You are basically in the catbird seat.
We enjoy being up there in the press box. We do. We get a great view.
Yeah, you and Chuck Lawrence do a great job of broadcasting the baseball games. And I wanted to talk about Lowndes Baseball because everybody knows by now they routed Noonan last night in that second game, especially. They won both games 2-1 and 10-4, and now they're on to the third round. So, man, you've been a witness to Lowndes Baseball all year long. What's the difference between this year and last year?
Well, number one, there's no COVID. So that's the best thing.
Yeah.
So these guys are getting to play. They play hard. Coach Ryan Page he's the difference. I really believe he's the difference right now. He demands a lot from these kids. These kids respond to him. They play for him. They play well for him, and they're disciplined. They don't try to play outside themselves.
Right.
They play with what pitch comes to them, and they're just really great kids all the way around too.
Yeah, fantastic, man. But there have been some guys that are kind of on both sides, whether it's pitching or hitting. Let's talk about the pitchers first. I had Ryan Page on this show early in the season. I think it was not even quarter way through the season. And he told Billy and I that one of the keys to his success so far has been a very, very deep pitching staff. Is that what you've seen in the stretch of the season?
Yeah, so far, William Joyner is the ace. He's the guy who takes the ball on game one. Mason Steele comes in generally on game two. And then you got guys like Garrett Fender who can come in relief. You got, I'm trying to think some of the others that they just have the ability to come in and they're in the right situations. But those two, if you've got really two strong pitchers, one of the things I think is an advantage for Region 1 is because they play doubleheaders in the season. You think about some of these teams in Atlanta, they only play a game here on a Thursday, a game on a Friday, or whatever the case is. In Region 1, we play doubleheaders every weekend. So you got to have that two pitcher. You got to be too deep in your pitching.
That's right.
So far, we've seen that from Lowndes, and they can play that really well. So as I said, William Joyner comes in game one, and then in game two, Mason Steele comes in. It generally shuts them all down.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Bill. It seems like other teams just don't have that. I mean, if you look at the way Newton played us, they played us tough in game one. They had a good pitcher in game one.
Right.
Didn't have the same stuff in game two. Same thing, the other night.
Yeah.
They played us tough, 2-1, and then they just didn't have the stuff with the second pitcher.
Yeah. The guy who came in relief in game one started game two, so you knew then you just didn't have the depth. I'll go back a good history, say 2004, 2005. You had guys like Matt Harper, John Michael Redding. These guys played in the minor leagues for many, many years in Major League Baseball. You could always count on those two pitchers coming up game one, game two, right off the bat, and you never had to worry about whether they were going to finish the game for you. And that was the last time that Lowndes went to a semifinal. So you got to be deep in your pitching.
Absolutely, man. Now, on the hitting side, the offensive side of the team, there's no let up there. I mean, these guys were lighting up the scoreboard last night. So who are the big bats for the team that they can rely on?
Well, I mean, they really can rely on everybody through the lineup. They've got guys like Daniel Kerrigan is great behind the plate, but when he's got the bat in his hand, he's pretty good there too. McCage Pruitt, really good. Jalen Hudson, who plays outfield a lot, he's a guy they can count on. Sam Bennett got hot in the last couple of series. This is a guy who wasn't necessarily starting every day at first base, but he is definitely the guy now. He's the guy hit a 2-run homer in the bottom of the sixth in game one, so they could go on and win that game 2-1. So there's a lot of them out there that can play really well. I love to watch them all play. Now, one of my favorites is number 5. They call it that little spark plug, Gage Smith.
Yeah,
not a great hitter. I mean, as far as in the outfield, but he can drag bunt on you. He can get on base for you. He generally hits in the 9 spot, and a lot of times it's almost like having 2 leadoff guys because your number 9 guy, and that's where he hits at, and he can get on and really play havoc once he gets on the bases. And then we got great speed as well. Some guys out there. Jalen Hudson's pretty fast. Ty Bridges, along with some others. These guys are really, really quick. They can get down the line. They can run out infield base hits and so forth. And they're doing the little things. That's really what they're doing this year. And it really stems from their head coach, Ryan Page. And he demands it from them. He coaches. I mean, if you're up 10-0 or if you're down 10-0, he's going to coach the same way.
Yeah. What is it? Ryan Page seems to have that as a baseball coach. I mean, it seems like even in a very tight situation, like Lowndes was down 1-0 going into the 6th inning, I believe, in game 1 last night. But, some coaches kind of have a brain freeze when the game's that tight. But Page seemed to be able to settle his guys down, and then Sam Bennett comes on and does what he does. Yeah. So did you notice that throughout the season? I've
noticed that with him a lot. He's a baseball guy. I mean, that's what he is. He played at a very high level when he played. He coaches well, and the kids relate to him. One of the things that over the years, sometimes you look at your coach and your head coach, and he's the guy that you might respect, but you just don't have that relationship with. Page has a relationship with these kids, and they respond to that. And I think that's the biggest difference. They look to a guy like Ryan who has been in those situations. He's been down 1-0 in the 6th. And been the guy to come to the plate and things like that in his own experiences. So he knows what these kids are thinking and what they're going through.
Gotcha. Okay. So now who are they playing next week? They're advancing to the Elite 8.
Right. It's going to be against Lambert. Lambert comes and this is interesting, the number 4 seeded team out of Region 6.
Wow.
So you figure these guys, they took out Norcross, and that was their first round. So they had to go to Norcross. Then
Norcross only had one loss.
Yeah, I think they were a really good team. I don't remember the exact scores there. But then they go to Cherokee, and they beat Cherokee, and they sweep them. So they jump into this, and they're going to make a trip down south, and they're going to come to Lowndes, to Noel George Field, and they're going to bring their best game. And I tell you what, it's going to be a really good matchup, I believe.
Was it one of those cases where Lambert was in a really good region, and you got 4 teams that are kind of jumbled together, or did they just not have a good year and all of a sudden they got hot?
No, that is a good region. It is Region 8, or excuse me, 6. It's not the best region. 8, 1, those are probably some of the better ones, but 6 is pretty good, and they came out of that. I want to say there were some close matchups in that region, and they just came out in the number 4 spot. So they're probably better than most any number 4 team that's out there, that's left now anyway.
I gotcha. Okay.
They're not bad if they beat Norcross.
Yeah, they're not bad if they beat Norcross, and they're not bad if they can sweep Cherokee, and they're going to come down here. It's an interesting matchup. As I said, you could get lax. You could come in and be the team that goes, hey, these guys are a number 4 seed. We can pretty well just show up on the field and play. But Ryan's not going to let these kids do that, number 1. Number 2, I think they're going to be pretty intense. This is the first time they've been this far in many, many years. And there are only 8 teams left in 7A. And they're one of those 8, and they want to be one of the 4.
So, a lot of time, most of the time on this show, we like to talk about the team, and we don't put a focus on an individual player. But, I've been watching a couple of these games, following it, your broadcast, things like that. It seems like, Bill, we've got an up and coming player that just seems to know what he's doing when he steps onto a baseball field. And I think he's a freshman in Carson Page.
It is. And I want to say it stems from his dad. Obviously his dad, he looks like a miniature version of his dad right now.
I see.
And I'm sure he's going to grow into that. I mean, I look at him out there, and I've known him since I've got a grandson that is a year younger than him. And I've watched them play Little League and things like that. So my grandson went on to decide to play soccer. He said, enough of this. But I've watched Carson for a long time. He's a baseball guy. Yeah. And he's come out. We talked about this on the broadcast the other day. Sometimes it's difficult for a dad to put your kid in a situation. He's leading off in game 1 a lot of times. Yeah. And, I think that Ryan, while he has the final decision, I think he defers to his other coaches who are telling him, hey, look, Carson's that good. He needs to be in the lineup, and he's performed when he's been there.
Is he just DHing, or is he?
No, he's usually leading off. He has DH'd, but they'll play him in the outfield as well, just to get him in the field. But he's pretty well an all-around player.
Hey, Bill, I'm going to put a comment on the screen. You make sure this gets to Coach Page. All right. Look at this. Look at the screen here. Tim Neesmith says he thinks that Carson is bigger than his dad.
He might be. Hey, Stick Man, I think he probably might. He's getting there. He's definitely maybe a little taller than his dad, but he's just as far as muscular, he's a little smaller. But he'll grow into that. The kid's only 14 years old, so I mean, it's going to be a little while.
It took Tim a while to grow into his too.
Tim is still growing into his frame. Hey, listen, a Stick Man, if you're going to throw a comment like that out there, then we're going to take a couple shots back. So I've got a question. I was watching Phil Jones's show. I think it was early this week, and he had Coach Page and a couple of the baseball guys on his show. Sage O'Barry was one. I think Jalen Hudson was the other. And those two young men, very articulate.
Yes.
That they represent themselves and Lowndes well. But Sage said something that kind of surprised me. He said that, one of his goals is to make it to the big dance, right? To the major leagues. But if that doesn't work out, then he's looking at going over to overseas ball, maybe Japan, maybe a European league, something like that. Is that a route that you're starting to see a lot of players try to make, or is that kind of relatively new? Or
I don't know. I think that it's you've seen major league players go to Japan and want to play because maybe they're reaching the end of their career. So I'm not seeing it in the beginning, but I'm telling you, Sage O'Barry he's a special talent.
Yeah.
If he doesn't think he can make it in the minors up to the majors, maybe he does make that route. But obviously, he's gonna make that decision, and he can play, I think, at an elevated level for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. Hey, let's Billy, did you have any other baseball questions for Bill before I kind of change topic here?
No, I mean, he covered it all. I mean, he covered the pitching. I mean, I've really been impressed with the pitching. I don't get to watch it as much as I like to. I was a baseball guy, but the pitching to me seems like the biggest difference because we are a little deeper than we have been. We always had just one star pitcher, a Michael Johnson or somebody that just could light it up, and then everybody else would just kind of clean it up. So
let me add one more thing to that.
Okay.
Daniel Kerrigan makes a big difference. When you've got a competent catcher, the catcher and pitcher work together.
Right.
So often I've seen at the high school level, sometimes coaches don't have the confidence in the catcher or the pitcher together, and you'll see them calling out pitch counts or pitches from the dugout. I don't think Ryan really gets into that. He might once in a while. He really trusts Daniel Kerrigan, and Daniel calls a really good game. My brother-in-law is a longtime catcher and was then the pitching coach for Tift County, the Blue Devils, and he told me many times over and over and over again, look, you got a good catcher who can call a good game. Pitchers feel comfortable and they work well. We go back to the final series of the year against Camden where we dropped both of those games. Daniel Kerrigan's not in there. He's taken that series off, resting the foot that he had some minor injury with. And the other two catchers, do their job. But it's the relationship between that catcher and pitcher makes all the difference in the world. As long as Daniel stays healthy, these pitchers are going to respond well, and they're going to perform well in this next series.
Well said, man. Well said. Do you think he gets? I'm sure he gets a lot of that from his dad, Dan, because Dan was a really, really good baseball player in his heyday as well.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. That a lot of that's hereditary, but like I said, that it really comes down to Daniel understands and he recognizes the trust that Ryan puts in him and the other coaches as well. And when you have that trust from your coach, you're going to perform better because you're going to make the right calls behind the plate. And he makes the right pitch calls, and the pitchers perform well. I've only seen a pitcher shake him off a couple of times.
That's right.
And then I go back to my movie references that don't shake off the catcher. Just throw the old Bull Durham. Just do what the
Bull Durham.
Yes, just shake your head.
That's right. That's right. So we're going to change topics here real fast because I know you got to get out of here in about 10 minutes or so. Let me ask you about, I'm sure you've heard about the Lowndes Athletics Master Plan, right?
I've heard about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, I talked to the board chairman, Eddie Smith, last week about it, and he gave me all the details. And so we kind of broke the news last week on this show about it. And I kind of like the direction they're headed. It's not just a indoor practice facility that they're planning, but it's part of an overall master plan that includes a rehab of the visitor side of the stadium. They're going to basically rebuild and expand the football field house. They're going to build this new indoor multi-purpose facility. And then they're going to build a couple more tennis courts, and they're going to do some changing of the basketball goal inside the gym as well.
Right.
So we got a lot of stuff that's coming along. What's your thoughts on all that?
I like the multi-purpose facility. I mean, I go back to several years ago when Coach McPherson would say, yeah, we really almost do have an indoor practice facility. We go to the gym, we push everything back, and the guys can walk through things. But being able to really run through plays as opposed to walking through plays is going to be much better for the team. We live in this area. When you get into what would be August, September, thunderstorms that you got to get off the field for, so many different things. The weather is just so up in the air. I like the idea, and making it multi-purpose, I think, is a really good thing. Yeah. You can have maybe the band. I know go to the college levels, and I'll speak for Florida State because I, of course, obviously a Florida State fan. My daughter is with the marching chief. She marches with the band there. They use the indoor practice facility. If there are days when the football team is not in there and they got bad weather, the band goes in there and practices because it's a full field. And so they are able to use that. The Golden Girls, the cheerleaders, everybody uses that from the athletic department. And, it's just you kind of share the facility. That's so right. I think it could be a lot of the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember, Bill, when my kids were going through Lowndes, they both went through the band as well. And every July, man, they went through that 2 weeks of band camp. You got kids that I think went through the band as well. That 2 week of band camp was brutal.
Yeah. And it's brutal at the college level. They do 2 weeks there when you get to college. But, like I say, once in a while, they would say, hey, you know what? It's 112 degrees outside. Yeah. Let's go inside. And they would do that. This would give them that opportunity so that these kids are just not so blistered out there. I mean, you've seen it. Your kids have been through it. You know how hot they come home and they're just exhausted. Yeah. So, I could see that being a really great thing. And then, of course, everywhere else they're going. The only one that I'm really not real thrilled about is putting turf on the baseball field. I would love to see that be natural grass. That turf gets hot. So
it does.
Yes. And they play some daytime games. That's my only one that I'm not really 100% with, but hey, you know what? They're going to go through the whole thing. It'll be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree with you there. I mean, I've heard some of that feedback from our fan base where they're about 90% of the plan they love, but some of them are giving me pushback like you just said. I'm not sure about artificial turf on the baseball or
Bill,
softball
I'm
field.
Not hearing anything about updating the press box. So you may have to.
That one is, that little box up there. If you to get by somebody, if you've been up there, they've got the foundation poured. It's there. All they got to do is knock a hole out of the back and build onto it. But I know it's very expensive. Yeah. But I guess I would love to see that, but maybe not yet.
Yeah.
Yep. You're not passing two people sideways.
No, not even close.
No, it's long, but it's very narrow and gets pretty crowded on a Friday night. That's for sure.
It does. And I love the press box. I really do. It's when you go to other press boxes around the state. I mean, there are some that are better when they're as far as how well they're built and things, but the open air, the crowd noise, I love calling a game up there in that press box. There's none better, I don't think, in the state for the atmosphere.
Yeah. What's your favorite? Just between us, nobody's watching, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Excluding the Lowndes press box, what's your favorite when we have to visit a place?
Actually, I pretty well like the Camden press box.
Okay.
It's a little older, but it still gives you the atmosphere, but it's nice. They separate you well, give you plenty of room. So often we go to places and we get stuck on the roof. We get put, wherever there's an empty spot. Camden is one of my favorite ones because they do give you a little room to yourself, air conditioning, but the windows come up. You can still get the crowd noise. So it's probably one of my favorites. There's been others that are really super swanky, McEachern and some others that you get into and you feel like—
I figured that would be your favorite.
No, it's not my favorite. But you go to— those are like high-rise hotels right there. Those are pretty nice. So
you still do the play-by-play calling on the baseball broadcast, but you've retired from the football broadcast full time. So what do you miss about not being up there on a Friday night?
Just Friday night. I don't miss any other parts of it. I felt like we just for so many years, it was a chore. I mean, we got together on Tuesday with the group, and we walked through several things. We got ready for the game. We had the coaches show that I hosted as well. And by the time you got to Friday, that was the easy part. That was the fun part. And if I could just show up sometimes on a Friday night, I'd probably still be doing it. But it was the work leading up to it. And there were younger guys coming along. Marty's doing a great job. Chuck does a phenomenal job on the sideline. And they'll continue to grow and do some stuff. And it was just one of those. When my wife retired from the school system, we kind of phased ourselves out. I used the excuse, my daughter graduated, so I thought I would too.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Bill, listen, this has been a great segment on tonight's show. I really do appreciate you coming on because you gave us great insight about Lowndes Baseball. It was great kind of going back and down memory lane with you in the press box and calling the football games. Hey, man, don't be a stranger to the show. We'd love to have you on anytime.
Yeah, anytime. Just let me know. I'd be glad to join you.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Hey, I appreciate you. Y'all have a good night too.
Yes, sir. Man, what a class act, Billy Pearson. Bill Osborne, he's
been around the program.
He's been around the block for a while. He's been around the program, and I did not know that he and Wes founded the Viking Voice.
I thought Wes did, and then he kind of came along with Wes, but I didn't realize he was co-founder of it. That's pretty neat. I was kind of sad to see Wes go, and Bill as well. So,
well, let me tell you something about Bill. Well, kind of indirectly about Bill. I got this ever since Bill took over the morning drive there at Black Crow. Every once in a while, one of my buddies will send me a text and say, "Are you on the radio this morning? Are you on Black Crow?" And I said, "No, that's Bill Osborne. I know my voice and his kind of sounds alike on the radio, but it's not me. It's Bill Osborne." But thanks for the compliment. So anyway, hey, listen, before Phil Jones calls in, I want to make this announcement. Guys, we don't have very many entries tonight, unless you guys must have just eaten or something. So Bill Osborne, if you're still watching, and guys, he is, because I still see him in the background there in the backstage. But man, you're eligible to enter this as well if you want to. Guys, if you want to enter for a chance to win this Winn-Dixie drawing, right? You need to type into the comments, #1Lowndes, #1Lowndes. That's all you've got to do. And at the end of the show, we'll collect all those names and do it automatically. We'll let a software program randomly select the winner. So right now we've got, I believe, 2 entrants. One is Kevin Wisham and the other one is Elaine Day. So anyway, so your odds of winning right now are pretty dang good, right? So Bill Osborne says, "Thanks for having me on tonight." Bill, we appreciate you being on, buddy. So he just entered 1Lowndes. There you go. Tim Neesmith, ring chasing 1Lowndes. I love it. All right, Kara Bethay.
You got to spell it out.
You got to spell it out. I'm going to spell it out in the comments, just like this. Yeah. Just like that.
You just can't put one, Kara. You got to spell out one.
It's got to be spelled out. There's no spaces, no nothing, just one word. #1Lowndes. Billy, I think next week I'm just going to change this to like #Lowndes.
No, it's got to be 1Lowndes because that's our. I've got a bracelet.
That's our calling card, right?
That is. I've got bracelets. The 1Lowndes it's our whole. It's not just football or baseball. It's our whole school system's motto.
That's right. Now, listen, Stickman is on a roll tonight. Look at this. probably a VHS graduate. Come on, Stick. What are you talking about, man? You know, it's probably this Berrien transplant trying to give directions that people just can't follow, right? So, Kara Bethea, you've got it right.
Where did Tim graduate from?
I'm not sure. Was he a Lowndes grad? He wasn't?
I don't think Tim was. Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you not know about Austin?
All right, so we got Phil Jones calling in. Hold on. Hey, Phil Jones, this you?
Larry Godwin, this is me.
Did you like that very professional way I just answered the phone, unlike your professional show? Hey, Phil, is that you?
Hey, let's see who this is calling in.
That's right, man.
Yeah, I think it's Phil, but we'll take a shot. I should have acted like a telemarketer.
Well, that's the beauty of caller ID, man.
Yes, it is. How are you, Larry?
I'm good. Hey, listen, I got to correct one of my viewers. Hey, Jerry O'Neill, you misspelled Lowndes. It's #1Lowndes. There you go. Marcus Foxter, you got it just right. Hey, Phil, you are familiar with this. I'm trying to give directions on how to give away this bucket of chicken from Winn-Dixie, because you've given away a number of those, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so we've deployed an automated tool, so they basically type into the comments #1Lowndes, and our software program at the end of the show just randomly selects a viewer based on their comment #1Lowndes. That's kind of cool, isn't it?
Oh, listen, now, you're talking about the high-tech way of answering the phones. Hey, listen, you may answer the phones the old-fashioned way, but brother, you have got the high-tech winner selection process going. Man, we just sit there and kind of, spin a wheel and see who comes up the winner on our giveaways. But no, that's great that you're doing that. Phil,
Billy, I want to tell you a story. Phil, I don't know why I'm going to share this story, but I'm going to share it anyways. My Berrien County days. Phil, when I was growing up in Berrien County, Billy, we didn't have very much money. Right. So we grew up in a trailer house the first 7-8 years of my life. Okay. So we lived in a trailer park, and Phil, during the summer times when there was no school, Wheel of Fortune was a very, very popular show back then. So my brother and I, during the summertime when we were bored and we couldn't find the Stretch Armstrong, Phil, we would get underneath the trailer house and spin the tire hub with a stick, pretending it's Wheel of Fortune. Big money, big money. That's what we did in the summertime, and how we use our imagination. There was no video game system in our household. No way. We had to use our imagination back then.
Those were the days, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey,
Probably
enough about me and my Berrien days. We're talking about Lowndes and Lowndes football. I wanted you to come on tonight because we got a big deal happening at the Concrete Palace tomorrow night, Billy Pearson. And we're welcoming the Warner Robins Demons into Martin Stadium for a springtime game. And Phil,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Phil, you, as host of Extra Point with Phil Jones, you work for ITG Next. You're connected, or you talk to a lot of coaches across the state, including Marquise Westbrook, the head coach of the Warner Robins Demons, and you've talked to him about what he's got coming back next year. What can we expect to see? And thank you so much for being on the show to talk about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's think back, to Warner Robins. They were looking at a 4th consecutive state championship appearance, and of course they had lost. They had come up empty the 3 prior to last year, and it's as if they took out those previous 3 years' frustration and their big win over Cartersville last year, which is a really good football team. But that was an absolute blow-away victory for Marquise Westbrook. And I really think that it kind of epitomizes, what this Warner Robins team is about. They got a lot of speed, strength on the line, and, there really aren't many holes in the team. And really, if you look at this year, and we'll talk about what they lost and what they've got coming back, like a lot of good teams, you'll lose some playmakers, course, Jalen Addy is gone. Of course, everything quarterback.
Yep.
A lot of people don't realize, though, Larry, he was used a good bit on defense for Warner Robins. So you can say a dual threat quarterback, but not in the general sense that we think. This is a two-way threat. Jalen Addy was defensively as a safety. But, of course, he made his hay at quarterback. But anyway, he's gone, as is Jalen Rutherford.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, between those two, man, you're talking about career-wise at Warner Robins, maybe close to, 7,000 yards in total yards between the two of them. So that's going to be, a lot to replace. So obviously we got to start there with their top flight quarterback and running back are not back this year.
Gotcha. So one of the things that I'd heard from, I think Coach DeBose said this in the Touchdown Club meeting earlier this week, was the quarterbacks, I believe, will be in green jerseys tomorrow night. So we're not going to be touching them. We're not going to be tackling them, bring them to the ground, things like that. And we're also not going to have a kicking game as well. The ball's going to be placed. And so tomorrow night's going to be tough to see what both teams have at the quarterback position, because both Coach DeBose and Marquise Westbrook, they love to get their athletic quarterbacks involved in the running game, especially early. So, Phil, what do you expect, with those two guys not coming back? What's going to be the calling card of Warner Robins this year, do you think?
Well, yeah, that is a good point. I tell you, it's not the sexy answer that we like, but when I talked to Marquise Westbrook, and really, I'm glad you asked me to come on tonight, because, of course, we talked to Coach DeBose on Tuesdays, and then, of course, we've got some coaches that'll come on every now and then. Marquise Westbrook joined me a few weeks back, and I was asking him about, what can we look forward to this year, with the team that you got. And I tell you, the first thing, the thing that he talked about the most was his line. Got a lot of the line coming back this year. Got some guys on both sides, offense and defensive line. So and just from his answer, I kind of expect them to try to be more of a ground and pound team this year. They do have Christian Lane back at quarterback. Now, I know you talked about the fact that we're not going to see much from the quarterbacks tomorrow night, but, here's a guy who really split a lot of time last year with Addy, because, again, I go back to it, when Addy was playing defense, they didn't want to run him ragged, having him taking all the snaps at quarterback and playing safety. So they would spell him a good bit at quarterback and put Christian Lane in there. You guys probably remember him playing a good bit, took quite a few snaps. So, to be honest with you and try to answer your question, I'll look for Warner Robins to take advantage of those linemen that they've got coming back. Okay. And again, that's what Westbrook kind of hinted at, that we may see more of a run-oriented offense from Warner Robins this year.
Phil, it's interesting that you bring up the line and you talking about potentially ground and pound, things like that. That's going to be a big question mark for Lowndes as well. How is that? We're losing a lot on the offensive line. We're losing a lot on the defensive line. So the focus of tomorrow night's spring game might actually be the line of scrimmage for both teams. What can both coaches expect? Don't you agree with that?
I do. And, let's face it. I think with us not having, when I say us, I mean fans, when we did not have a spring game to enjoy last year, we didn't have spring practice to enjoy last year, I think everybody is really itching and just looking so forward to having a football game, to look forward to. Right. Yes, you're right. We won't have the quarterbacks. They'll be protected, like you said. Not much of a kicking game either. So I think that both teams, though, are going to try to focus on, again, trying to get the interior of both of their offense and defense, a lot of work. And from a fan standpoint, just relishing the fact that you're going to be looking at two teams that, Larry, could very well be on their way to the state title games in their respective classifications. I know the hopes are high with Coach DeBose and Lowndes, as they should be. Speaking of great quarterbacks, we all know that Jakari's coming back. And like I said, this could very well be, as spring games go, quite possibly the best spring game in the state this year.
Yeah, man. I hope you're right when you say both teams might be headed to a state championship. Billy, that would be fantastic to make it that deep 3 years in a row.
Yeah, we can say Warner Robins is a middle Georgia team, but we used to play them not too long ago regularly, and I kind of still feel like they're a South Georgia team, and it's always nice when South Georgia teams get to represent us. So they're a very good team. They're very talented. They did lose a lot. I'm not sure if they quite lost as much as we did, but it'll be good to see us play, see how our linebackers work, see how our offensive line works. That's kind of where we lost everything for us.
Right.
We lost our linebacker core. We lost our offensive line is gone. So to get those new kids, those young kids, reps will be a good thing to see. I'm unfortunately not going to make the game. I'm going to be out of town, but looking forward to hearing how it goes. I don't miss many Lowndes games, as you know. So to miss it's going to be tough, but I think it'll be exciting for a spring game. It'll be as exciting as it can be because, like Phil said, they're two great teams that have a shot to go far.
That's right. Phil, speaking of the middle Georgia programs like Warner Robins and Northside Warner Robins and Veterans and those types of teams, you've got your pulse on high school football in the state of Georgia. And one of the things that you've started talking about this week is reclassification. It sounds like the GHSA is going to go full speed ahead with a full reclassification. Do you expect that process to bring in teams like Northside Warner Robins or other programs into 7A next year?
I do. What a crazy situation that turned out to be when in just a matter of days, we heard the GHSA go from, Dr. Robin Hines, the executive director, say, well, I think we're just going to, hold steady on our FTE.
That's
Larry,
right.
That's the enrollment numbers that the GHSA goes by to determine where teams fall in a particular classification. And Dr. Hines, and his initial point was a good one. Hey, look, we had so much, happened with COVID-19. We feel like the enrollment numbers are kind of skewed to a certain degree. So we just feel like that we can't get a real accurate assessment of where we are with the enrollment numbers. So we're going to hold it where it is. Well, after they decided to do that, apparently they got just a tremendous amount of backlash, of feedback from schools. And it's kind of interesting because, when this first came down, I thought, which teams will benefit and which teams may be, escaped from moving up in classification. So you got some schools, right on the border, and, you got to feel like, man, do they want to move in classification? Probably not. So it's going to be real interesting to see, which teams make it, which teams don't, which teams maybe appeal if they are moved up or moved down. I can't imagine the team not wanting to move down, but it's going to make for a very interesting, reclassification when it's all said and done.
Well, speaking of reclassification, it seems like, this next question is almost like a sport that we try to guess every couple of years now. With reclassification coming up, is Valdosta going to move up to 7A?
I think they're trying to opt out. I think they made that announcement and they wanted to opt out. Did they not, Phil?
They did. And here's why. So right now they meet the criteria just barely with the 7A enrollment numbers. I think the cutoff is 2,200 and Valdosta is above that. Their enrollment is up about 100 since the last time they looked at the previous FTE numbers for the previous classification cycle. So as expected, when they built the new high school, the enrollment went up at Valdosta High. But yeah, just what we were just talking about. They're in no hurry to go up to 7A. So yeah, they do want to lobby to not move up. But right now, they are above the threshold.
Now there is
the dividing line.
There is something in the way they count students.
Okay, so what you guys are
I understand that if you have alternative schools students that are not enrolled in general classes for behavioral reasons or whatever, they're not eligible to play extracurricular activities such as sports, whatever. They are at this time, Valdosta has elected to count those students. If they do, if Valdosta decides not to elect those students as general students, then they would fall below the number, I believe.
Well, that's an interesting perspective. I would have to go back and look at the bylaws on how that's covered. But right now, like Phil said, they currently have the numbers to meet. Now, one of the things that could push them back down in 6A into 6A during the next reclass cycle would be if you've got some metro Atlanta schools that just exponentially grow. And let's say they were 5A this past cycle or 6A, and they grow and that pushes them to 7A. Because the GHSA is only going to allow a certain percentage of the total schools into the upper classification of 7A and the lower classification of 1A. The rest of them, they kind of spread out evenly. So there's a fixed number that they will allow into 7A. And if some of these metro schools meet that 7A criteria, it may again push Valdosta back down into 6A.
I would like to see more teams in this area as 7A because it would give us more competition, more region games.
Well, that comes, Phil, that comes as a double-edged sword, because let's assume for a second that Valdosta would go up into 7A. What does that do for Region 1-6A? Now you've got 3 teams.
Well, that's a good point. Unless there's a 5A team that's going to make the move up to 6A, but I don't know if there's a South Georgia team that would fit that, though, is there?
No, Coffee County would not. And there is some talk that Ware County is about to do some type of career academy, things like that could bump their numbers down the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I haven't heard about that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So there's some rumblings over there in Waycross that it's not a done deal yet, but they're starting to talk about it. So
yeah, this will be. And listen, and this is the dilemma. You know what the thing you just touched on. Remember, so I'll take you back 2-3 years ago when the 32 playoff teams in 7A were determined, by the top 4 teams, in 1 through 6A,
right.
And then, but in 1-7A, you had the first 3 teams make it, I think, but the fourth team at that point was not an automatic qualifier. You guys remember that?
Oh yeah.
And they wound up going with like a point system.
A point.
And Tipp County actually, yeah, go ahead.
I was just agreeing with you, Phil.
Yeah. I think, and Tipp County actually made it and went all the way to the state quarterfinals. So, which kind of proves that, hey, in 1-7A, it doesn't matter if you're going as a 4 seed, if you make it as a qualifier or whatever, which they did. I think it just goes to show the brand of football we play down here. But man, if we really can't go much lower, like Larry just touched on. I mean, you go to 3 teams, in 1-6A. I mean, who are you going to get to replace? I mean, what's the decision? Are you going to have to go back to some kind of qualifier like we had in 7A a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, it really makes for some interesting scenarios, and I haven't really heard it talked about yet.
Yeah, it's a good point, man. It really is. Hey, before you get out of here, Phil, let me get your take on something. Several months ago, we were talking about the high school football arms race as far as facilities goes, right? And so now Lowndes has basically announced that they are going to implement their Lowndes Athletics Master Plan, which is going to include, Phil Jones, an indoor multi-purpose practice facility.
Beautiful.
It's going to happen. So what do you think about schools going down that direction?
Listen, I think if you're not planning to go, if you're not making plans to do that, you're going to get left behind. We're seeing high schools, and here's the thing about it. We're seeing high school programs now, regardless of size, regardless of classification, we're seeing schools electing to build these indoor practice facilities. Guys, you've got Pelham that's got an indoor facility, and I mean, the single A team. You got, we've seen the improvements made with Peach County, and I know that's not an indoor facility. Point being, everybody right now seems to be looking at, trying to stay up with the Joneses. We're going to do whatever we can to upgrade our facilities. Guys, do y'all remember when, I think it was McEachern, was the first program to move forward with the big video, the giant, video board?
Right.
And then after that started a run. Everybody in the state was trying to keep up with that. And now we see, again, schools of all sizes looking to try to improve their facilities. Larry, to answer your question, I think you're going to start to see schools, regardless of size, they're going to find the money. They're going to do whatever they can to make it a part of the budget to build these facilities. And let's face it, from a sensibility standpoint, when you live in our neck of the woods and it's 90 degrees and for, the temperatures stay pretty hot, even most of the football season.
Yep.
That we need something like that for the safety of the coaches, the players. So I just think it's long overdue.
That's right. And so, guys, before Phil Jones gets out of here, I'm going to remind you guys, if this is your last chance, last call, Phil Jones, if you guys want to enter our chance to win this Winn-Dixie Stuff the Bucket deal, you got to enter it in the comments. Hashtag #OneLowndes, all one word. It's got to be spelled correctly. Hashtag #OneLowndes. And so in a few minutes, we'll do that drawing. And Phil, if you want to tune in and see how we do it here, man, it's pretty slick. Don't you think, Billy?
Oh, it's neat. It kind of shocked me.
Hey, I want to remind everybody too, congratulations to the Lowndes Baseball team.
Absolutely.
For the great season that they've had. We were so proud to have them in studio this week, and look forward Tuesday night to hearing from Coach DeBose, and he'll tell us how the spring game went. And I can't wait to have Coach DeBose join us either by phone or in studio on Tuesday. That's next Tuesday, and I'm sure give us an update on the spring game. Really looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Hey, Phil, before you run, why don't you give our viewers, you've been a wealth of information tonight, and it doesn't have to stop here. Why don't you give our viewers how to find your show and what nights of the week do you broadcast?
Larry, I appreciate that, buddy. It's okay. So it's at the ITG Next Georgia, ITGnext.Georgia Facebook page, ITG Next.Georgia, our Facebook page. You can see the show live, or you can listen to it. 5 to 7. We go live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 5 p.m. We do it for 2 hours until 7 p.m. And we will we'll bring back our 4th day, which is what we started with, once we get closer to the football season. So right now, 3 days a week, Monday through Wednesday. When football season comes back, we'll have it back to 4 days a week. And if you can't catch it live, you guys can find the podcast version of Extra Point. It's an exact replica of the rebroadcast of the original live show. And you can find it at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you go to locate your favorite podcast. You can also do that to find Extra Point with Phil Jones. So 2 ways. You can watch it live or you can watch the rebroadcast. Either way, I hope you guys will catch it. We have a lot of fun talking to Coach DeBose and all the other coaches to find out what's happening with the Vikings and everybody else.
Phil, we just put the link to your show on our screen here. So, guys, if you're watching tonight, here's the link to Phil's show on Facebook, ITGnext.Georgia, and just look for the live feed when he goes live.
Yeah, Phil
Monday
does a
through
great
Wednesday,
job, guys.
5 to 7. So, Phil, listen, we appreciate you calling into the show tonight, man. Don't be a stranger. You're welcome anytime.
Larry, thanks so much for asking me to come on with you tonight, my friend. It's going to be fun out at the Concrete Palace. Football is here, and again, we so appreciate the Vikings, the players, coaches, for all the hard work that they do. And let's go out there tonight, guys, and catch the culmination of the hard work they've all been doing this spring.
Yes, sir. All right, Phil. Thanks for calling in. I'll catch you on your show Monday night.
Thanks, Larry.
See you, man. Have a good night.
See you guys. Bye.
Well, there he was, Phil Jones. Man, Billy, what a wealth of information there.
He
I
is.
had no idea all that about.
A lot of my information from about other teams comes from Phil Jones and his show. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm just regurgitating.
Now we know your secret, man.
No, I do watch a lot of football, as you know. I keep up with a lot of local teams, and I try to keep up. But Phil's on top of things. That's for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. You think we should go ahead and do the drawing? We got a couple minutes left. Let's go ahead and do this drawing. Last call, guys. I'm going to put the banner up back on the screen. If you would like a chance to win this Winn-Dixie drawing for Stuff the Bucket chicken wings and riblets, all you have to do is enter in #1Lowndes, all one word there, #1Lowndes, just like you see on the screen for your chance to win. I'll give it another 20, 30 seconds, and then we will draw. Okay, so this is what it looks like, Billy. There we go, right there.
Yep.
All right, here we go, guys. Let's draw this thing. That is so slick, man. I love that. And the winner is, now if it says the Viking Nation, it's Elaine. Jerry Safford. Congratulations, Mr. Jerry Safford. You are the winner. Bubba Price, you're 30 seconds too late, buddy.
I think Billy, he did that on purpose.
We put the winner on the screen, and he enters in #1Lowndes.
Yeah, he did that on purpose.
I'm sure he did. All right, guys, we want to congratulate the winner there, Jerry Safford. Jerry, I will send you a message after the show is over to let you know how you can collect your winnings there, buddy. Congratulations, and thanks for being a Viking fan. So, Billy, that's going to wrap us up for tonight's show, man. Appreciate you coming on every week. We're going to
have fun with it.
Oh, man. If you can't have fun talking about Lowndes athletics and Lowndes football, I mean, I don't think you can have fun at anything. It's a fun time to be a Lowndes Viking, don't you think?
Oh, I cannot wait for a cool afternoon, Friday night.
Yep.
Sunset. Ooh, that's the best time.
It really is, man. It really is. You got, you're saying that we're all salivating now for fall weather right at the time when we're hitting 85, 90 degrees. Now your screen is frozen and you look like you're really enjoying it. That was funny. Well, guys, that is going to wrap us up for Around the Nation, presented by Winn-Dixie of Valdosta. So go up there and see Clint Haynes and the guys, and our newest sponsor, Shade of Perfection, and that's our buddy Tim Neesmith. Hey, before we go, speaking of Tim Neesmith, Billy, I have an answer for you. Tim Neesmith, did he graduate from Lowndes High? He answered the question. This is his answer. I'm gonna put it on the screen, and he's directing this answer right at you, Billy. He says, "Lowndes High, fool." Where else can you get this kind of entertainment while we're talking about Lowndes athletics? Great stuff.
I just had to poke him a little bit.
That's right. So I'm Larry Godman for Billy Pearson and all you crazy Lowndes super fans out there. Y'all have a great Thursday night and a fantastic weekend. And we will see you tomorrow night, minus Billy Pearson, at the Concrete Palace for the spring game with Lowndes versus Warner Robins. Until then, you guys have a great one, and we'll see y'all tomorrow night. Thank you very much, Billy Pearson. So we're out.